to the 7th Annual Friends of Section 9 Track and Field Hall of Fame ceremony. Give everybody a nice round of applause who's here this afternoon. We want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. My name is Estrada, and I'll be your Master of Ceremonies this afternoon. It's my pleasure and my honor to be here as we induct 2 coaches, 1 official, 6 individual track athletes, 8 relay runners, and a special contributor to Section 9's Hall of Fame in 2024. Before we get started, I do want to acknowledge one individual who's in the audience. He was part of our initial 2017 class as part of the Monticello High School's 1950 cross-country team. Mr. Leo Glass, if you could please stand up and be acknowledged. He's here this afternoon. 74 years ago, that team took part in Monticello High School athletics, and we honor another Monticello High Schooler this afternoon, and we'll get to that this afternoon. So at this time, if you could please give a nice round of applause. Towards the end, I'm going to introduce the Board of Directors and the directors for the Friends of Section 9 Track and Field Hall of Fame. These are the folks who do all the work behind the scenes. First, our directors, if you could please stand, and we'll have a round of applause for everybody at the end. Our directors, Frank Giannino, Richard Furst, Malcolm Burks, Gus Lawson, Brian Creedon, Ann Gregory, Greg Rafferty, our Secretary, Dave Goggins, our Treasurer, Kevin Stewart, our Vice President, Wendy, Warnock, and our President, Jim Glover. If you could all please rise and get a nice round of applause. Folks, the other ones that keep it going each and every year for our Hall of Fame ceremony. And at this time, I'd like to introduce the president of the organization, Mr. Jim Glover, for our Pledge of Allegiance as well as the President's address. Jim?
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Glover, and I am the current president of the Friends of Section 9 Track and Field Hall of Fame. And on behalf of my fellow board members, I would like to welcome all of you as we join together to honor the class of 2024. This is our 7th annual banquet, and each one has shown us the amazing diversity of talent and achievement that our area has produced. We honor our athletes, their coaches, their officials, and those that through their actions and deeds have helped make Section 9 athletics better for all of our athletes and the programs. Section 9, as you know, is made up of the Orange County League and the Mid-Hudson Athletic League, Orange County, Sullivan, Ulster, and parts of Dutchess counties. And until 1986, Rockland County, which left us to join Section 1. And that legacy lives on with 3 of our current Hall of Fame coaches who were standout athletes for Section 9. So Section 9 has a rich and incredible history of contributions to sports, track and field, and cross country. Section 9 continues to excel at the state and national level, and future Hall of Famers are still being forged. In the past year, 2 boys teams won cross country championships. We had a boy win both the Class D state championship and the federation championships, and in the indoor and outdoor track and field realm, there are just too many to list individually, but the future looks good for Section 9. So enjoy the presentations. I look forward to hearing from all of the inductees, and thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. It's a great organization. We really work hard to make this the very best we can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. At this time, I'd like to invite up to the podium Dave Billings, who will give us a moment of silence as well as the invocation for this afternoon.
I'd like you to turn in your program there to page 46. These are people who have passed, and so we want to honor them. And I thought it would be interesting to see which one of these individuals had an effect on your life. So as I mention their names, and you know them, just stand. Art Jessup, Joe Wolf, Debbie Cohen, J.R. Quinn, Kevin Hibsman, and Hugh Coffers. If you know those people, please stand. Thank you. You may be seated. Just so you know, I am Section 9, even though I grew up in Nyack. And let me say, when I went to high school and graduated in '72, if they would have ever have thought of going to Section 1, I would have found a Section 9 school to go to, because I love Section 9. Let me open us up in prayer. God's word says to us this afternoon, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So today we rejoice. We rejoice that we can be in this place to both recognize and celebrate those who are being inducted here into the Section 9 Track and Field Hall of Fame. We also, Lord, say thank you to the Hall of Fame Board of Directors for all they do in bringing this event together. And we are very happy and glad to be in this place so we can eat what we can eat. And so we ask you, Lord, to bless the Walker Golf Club and their staff for serving us. Lastly, Lord, I ask you to bless this meal before us, and then use us to be a blessing to others. For it's in your name I pray. And all God's people said, amen. Amen. Thank you.
In addition to the Hall of Fame plaque, the award that each of our inductees will get this afternoon, some of the athletes will also have, in their honor, a plaque given to their respective high schools, and I'll read those plaques as the pictures are being taken. So what we're going to do is we'll introduce a member of the Board of Directors who's going to hand out the award and introduce our nominee. Once our nominee gets the award, they'll take a picture right here, accepting the award with our director, and then they're going to head over to, if you're looking at the wall towards me, to your left, where there is a Friends of Section 9 Track and Field Hall of Fame banner. Or did you want to do it outside? No, that's perfect. We're going to do it at the banner, and that's where you're going to take your pictures. And also, family members, if you do want to join for the picture, you can head on over to that section, and then once those are done, we'll get to our next nominee. So first up, I'd like to introduce Mr. Dave Goggins, who's going to introduce our first Hall of Fame inductee this afternoon, Mr. Tom Heisey.
Thank you. Good afternoon and welcome to everyone. What you see in the program is an abridged version of Tom's story. In the unabridged version, Tom was guided in his career and extracurricular choices by his devotion to his high school sweetheart and North Star, Kate, who unfortunately passed away 5 years ago. We hear a lot about the sacrifices that the family makes so that coaches can be available to guide and develop athletes. It should be pointed out that the families of officials also make many sacrifices so that athletes may have the benefits of competent rules interpretation and fair competition. My experience with the pole vault over the years is that it attracts coaches, athletes, and officials who enjoy the precision involved in setting up the venue and running the event. It seemed inevitable that Tom, with a degree in electrical engineering, would be attracted to the pole vault. I will always associate Tom with meticulous setup skills and proficiency with using the laser to set the bar heights and the ease of using Five Alive to manage the flow of events. Very quietly, Tom earned the respect and gained the experience to fill a number of roles locally and at college, regional, and national USATF and NCAA and World Athletics meets. What I learned that I hadn't known before was that Tom was involved in officiating at the collegiate level in many major NCAA and college championships where his talents were recognized and rewarded with the honor of being the chief event official or referee. It is my pleasure and privilege to introduce Tom Heisey for induction into the Hall of Fame. Tom?
Thank you, Dave. Hello, New York. I say that because I don't live here anymore. I moved to Florida 3 years ago, a little while after my wife had passed away. It was something we were planning on doing, and my son and daughter-in-law, who live down there now, finally convinced me that you gotta come down here. So I moved down. All I can say is I hope when I go back this time, it's not going to be like when I came up here in mid-April. Because when I finally got back to New York, a couple days after I got back down there, I started coughing. Pretty simple for a little while, then it got worse and worse. And by Friday of the week I got back, my daughter-in-law said, "We're going to the ER." And I got there and they took all these tests. They said, "Oh, we got bad news for you. You got COVID and pneumonia." And I'm going, "What?" Well, I don't know where I picked it up. But nevertheless, I hope that doesn't happen on this trip back, which will be tomorrow. But I got a mask this time. I'm going to wear a mask. But like Dave says, I've been around the track and field as an official for a long time. I misinterpreted his call and his emails to me when he said, "Yeah, I need 1,000," and I heard words. So by the time I finished, my word doc processor said, "Okay, you got 1,600 words, that should be plenty." And then when he gets it, he calls me up and says, "No, I meant 1,000 characters." So it fit properly in this booklet. I didn't know that was part of the program. And I said to him, I said, "Well, my word processor, which is pretty new, if you will, it only counts words. It has no idea what characters are." So he did all the editing, and I looked at it afterwards. And the first time I really saw it was today. He did a fabulous job cutting it down and just giving some typical highlights of my career, which started, I think I told you it was like 1989. The reason why I say that is because Kingston High School was just finishing the renovation of their football field and their new track. And I'm pretty sure that's the year I joined the SOCAT organization. And I was part of SOCAT until I actually left to go to Florida 3 years ago. The main problem was I didn't do many high school meets in the COVID era, in the time frame that my wife was very ill. I just didn't have it in me to go away and leave her there. And one of the incidents that really upset me was I went down to the Penn Relays where I was the chief official down there, and I got a phone call from the neighbors said, "Can you come home? Your wife had fallen and broke her hip." And I go, "Oh my God, how did you get in the house?" Well, he said we had to break your garage door window. And luckily I have some neighbors. One lives across the street is a nurse. In fact, both of them are nurses, and they were able to attend to her until the ambulance showed up. But I got home, and I know he's here. Where's St. Lawrence? Yeah, you guys gave me a ride home from Penn Relays to Mary Onken's place, because that's where my car was parked. I can't remember who. Oh, I went down with, I think, Skip Earl, I'm not sure for sure, but it was a hectic day on that ride, but I don't know if I ever thanked you for that, but I thank you so much for doing that. I don't know how longer you want me to talk, but that's enough. Okay, that's enough. Wait, you didn't say that? Okay, he did say that, but you know, I could go on and on, but I love doing what I was doing. I love going to certain high school meets was my first love because that's where I got my start. And the special meets like up in Tri-Valley, special meets at Monticello, those are the two meets I really like to go to. And when I got higher up in the world of track and field, NCAA and USATF, I just loved going down to West Point to their meets, their Army, Navy meet. But that was just an intense meet that you can ever want to be involved in. And occasionally with Joe Ayator, we had his qualifier for the Empire State Games, if I remember right, a few times. I would go down to help out at that meet, and I enjoyed every moment of that too. So I think that's about enough, unless you want to ask me a question or two.
I'd like to invite to the microphone Mr. Frank Giannino for our next inductee from Pine Bush, Allissa Thompson. Hold on one second, Mr. Heisey wants to...
What I'm wearing is a track uniform that I wore at Section 9 high school meets, khaki pants, the sweater, and underneath is the SoCal shirt.
Allissa was a stud muffin in school too. She's also very smart. And she's had an interesting career that has led to mountaineering. This summer she's going to be attempting to climb up Denali. So she's got some story to tell. So get to grab her aside, pick her brain on all her adventures that have involved 4 high peaks in the world so far. And this will be number 5 for her. I'd like to introduce Allissa. Come up and tell her story.
I feel very lucky to be here today sharing this experience with my best friend, Michelle, of about 30 years now, with our coach, Steve Wichurko, whom you know as Turk, and many, many members of my family here today. I also want to acknowledge that 25 years ago, my mom showed up to just about every meet, every race with a large camera in tow, and this led my older brother Chad to christen her Mama Razzi. And so most of the memorabilia that we have here today is a result of that. I'm so grateful for that, and so many of our memories were immortalized because she came to every race. So thank you, Mom. Running was my first love. It's shaped so much of my life. It's given me beautiful friendships. Not many people can say that they have a 30-year friendship and spend more time traveling, flying, or driving to see each other than they actually get to spend together and make the most of those visits. Not many people can say that they have 5-hour phone dates with their best friend across the country, so I'm so thankful for that. It's also led me to probably the greatest love of my life, which is now mountaineering, and has just informed so much of what I do and love today. When Michelle and I first found out about this nomination, we were reminiscing, and we said, well, we were kind of an era, weren't we? And to see so many of the members of this committee who were coaches during our time, and to remember the camaraderie among athletes who were competitors often, the mutual respect. Frank here probably sold me probably every pair of shoes and racing flats for most of my high school running career, maybe from the time I was 12. Convinced me to run my first duathlon when I really was not a great swimmer. But talent and training only take you so far, and so today I also really want to acknowledge that we share this honor with our coach. Not every coach can tap into an athlete's mindset. Runners can be very challenging individuals. Individual athletes are a whole different breed. Runners are a different breed, especially teenage girls. We have a lot of feelings. And not every coach can coach an athlete equally when they're down or when they're not performing well as when they're winning. And one of the pivotal moments in my life at the state championships in 1997, not just because I won that race, but what illustrates, I think, Turk's... Is that my time up? I think one of the greatest illustrations of the duality of a coach handling an athlete's elation with an athlete's disappointment was that in that race, I was boxed in, as he reminded me, it was one of the ugliest races ever. I was boxed in for most of the race. Katie, Allissa, and I had gone to dinner the night before. Our coaches sat together, we sat together. We had so much respect and friendship between us. We would later become teammates at Duke. And when I made a move and passed her and got out of that box in the last 100 meters of that race, I remember we have on video Turk pumping his arms. And I was kind of in shock after the race because I spent so much of my life and career at that point being second to Katie. Being second fiddle, but she was such an athlete who inspired me. And I think it didn't really occur to me that I had just won the state championship race. I knew that I had beaten her. And so I walked over to Turk and I furrowed my brow, and it was like I needed to say it out loud to believe it. And I said, hey, I'm a state champion. A little confused at that still. And so he got to celebrate with me at a time when Katie was disappointed and, kind of, I think, astonished at how this race had unfolded. And I don't think that her coach quite knew how to respond to her. And she might never have had a chance to tell you, Turk, but years later at Duke University, she said how much that meant to her, that you were able to console her and talk her through that experience afterwards, and that you were able to handle both my elation and her disappointment. And so thank you for being the best coach I ever could have asked for.
Pictures over there, I do want to let you know, so this plaque will go over to Pine Bush High School in honor of both Michelle and Allissa, who are both listed on here. I'll read off the accomplishments that are listed on the plaque for Allissa. Friends of Section 9 Track and Field Hall of Fame, Pine Bush High School Hall of Fame Inductees 2024. Allissa Thompson, 1997 New York State Indoor Champion, 1,000 meters at 3 minutes, .69. 1998 New York State Indoor Intersectional Relay Champion, 1999 Outdoor Section 9 Champion in the 800 meters at 2:14.1, 6-time New York State medalist, climbed 4 continental summits, Kilimanjaro, Kosciuszko, Elbrus, Aconcagua. I'm Spanish, you'd think I would know that one. And 22.841 feet. Congratulations, Allissa Thompson, in your induction to the 2024 Hall of Fame. If I can have everybody's attention as we continue our program, I'm going to hand it off now to Rich Furst, who's going to introduce our next inductee.
Good afternoon. I'm glad we're all here. I'm glad to be here myself, and as a coach and a director. I've had the opportunity to coach tremendous athletes and then have a couple of them in my family. And I think it's only appropriate that the guy who I used to hear about every day after school, about the rough practice, I think he should be the person to induct our next inductee. So I would like to invite Goshen past coach Andy Krish to come up here and please induct.
I'm going to go without a microphone if that's okay. We'll hopefully let everybody else do the same thing afterwards. Good afternoon, my name is Andy Krish and I'm a retired math teacher and coach from Goshen Central School District. I'm happy that I had a small part in Eric Furst's success and I'm glad I'm able to be here to share in the recognition of his accomplishments in cross country and track. Pele once said, "Success is no accident. It's hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you're doing." Terms like water tower, Nam, toilet bowl, Jurassic Park, snow drifts, and hot lunch may not mean anything to most of us, but I'm sure they'll bring back memories both good and bad for Eric and his fellow teammates that are here to celebrate with him. Hard work and perseverance. Although running is about personal best, it's also about teammates. Throughout his high school career, Eric learned what he was capable of doing, as well as what his teammates could do. He was the first, no pun intended, to challenge his teammates to step it up at practice and get them together for weekend runs. He had an uncanny knowledge of personal best of other athletes around the county, and this awareness helped him create race plans and influence lineups and relay orders for himself and his teammates. Eric was also willing to run any race in which he was needed in order for Goshen to be successful. Learning, studying, sacrifice. Eric graduated from Goshen in 1999. Over his years there, Eric was an 11-time county and Section 9 champion. He was Class B state champion in the 800 meters, the top finisher on Goshen's state champion Class B cross-country team, and a leadoff runner for Goshen's DMR team who ran at the Adidas National Track Championships. Eric went on to run at Bucknell track and cross-country teams. Before graduating in 2003, Eric scored in multiple meets and many different events. Most notable were his DMR team that held the school record for 15 years and his third place finish in an All-East IC4A meet. All of these accomplishments would not have happened if Eric didn't love the sport. Even today, when he's not at his engineering job or spending time with his wife Jen and their girls Abby and Emily, Eric's love of the sport has him volunteering his time as a middle distance coach at Caton's Cougar Youth Track Team. At this point, Eric, I would like to formally congratulate you on all of your running achievements and wish you the best of luck in the future, and thank you for your contributions to the Section 9 running community.
I don't have quite the pipes that he does. So. Thank you. Well, so what Coach Krish was naming there, those were hills, and that was the coaching philosophy of Coach Krish and us at Goshen. We did hills, in the woods, in the snow. We didn't have plaques and banners at Goshen when this group of guys that I was involved with, when we got started, we were the beginning of Goshen's future successful legacy, and coaches like Coach Krish are a big part of making that happen. Winding back a little bit, another Hall of Famer, Chris Egger, came through for 1 year when I was in 7th grade and some of the guys were in 8th grade, and just never underestimate the impact that coaches can have on kids in that age group, because that his inspirational, just the way that his intensity, you know, he taught us how to make goals, to visualize the goals, to embrace those goals, to attack those goals, to go after it. And that was something that, you know, even though a lot of us had coaches in our families, you needed to hear it from somebody else, like a young guy like Chris Egger that came in and helped with that. Other coaches, Coach Conklin, passed away a while ago. He was the right coach for that team, this group of guys. He was a retired police officer, didn't know a lot about running, but Goshen didn't have a whole stable of coaches hoping to coach us. We needed someone, and he was there for us. And none of this would have happened if not for people like Coach Conklin who were just willing to be there.
Sure, sure.
With that group, with Coach Ager and that starting group, athletes, Tim St. Lawrence, poised, professional, looked up to him to this day. Also with Tim, Brett Walker, intense, fiery, dedicated, loyal. I tried to be as much like those two as I could when I was a young man. And that whole team, that group of guys made the core that would go on to win that state championship, and not in any way because of dominance up front. I might have been one of the worst top finishers of a state championship team that there ever was, but we had a group between 11 and 23 in the standings, a 22-second spread, 1 through 5, and it was getting to that finish line and looking back, and there was Richmond Friedrich right behind me in the chute, right next to him, J.B. Russo, right behind him, Mike St. Lawrence, Tim St. Lawrence, and Brett and Jeff Smith, that whole group, all in the chute at the same time. It was that we've been talking about how tumultuous that year had been, but at the end, we were there for each other, and we were there as a team, and looking back and just knowing that they were going to be there to come through, that was a great fulfillment of all of our goals. Unfortunately, almost all of them left, except for Mike St. Lawrence here today, and for that last year, it was just iron sharpening iron, Mike and I grinding out all those hills, just hammering through, and his strengths bolstered my weaknesses. I'd say, college was great, enjoyed my time there, but I never really got to accomplish all the goals. The thing about running is, you get a goal and then you get to that goal and you just have another goal. There's no Super Bowl that you can win. Even if you win the state meet, there's further places you can go. There's the Olympics. I never even sniffed that, but I had, as a great bookend to my running story, my brother, who was able to take what I did and take it several steps further, and that was a tremendous honor to be a part of watching him do his All-American and Olympic trials type work. It was just so exciting for our family to go through that. Pop, Coach Furst. With Coach Furst, if you're in a crowd, you need to get a hold of him. It's Coach Furst. Always supportive while being realistic. Never had him tell me that a bad race was good. That wouldn't have helped, and that's not what we got. But we worked through, talked about how the race unfolded, how we would do things differently. Always supportive, but never put too much pressure. Never. I put enough pressure on myself. He understood what he needed to do in that role. Didn't have to do it, and my mom thinks she might get off the hook because she's not gallivanting around the state like you coaches, but everyone knows that there's somebody there that makes it all go forward, and that was Mom. Not just for me, but she was a one-woman booster club for the entire team. Lastly, I'm just honored to be here. Thank you so much, and for all of the other inductees, congratulations. It's a tremendous honor. Fortunately, my girls and I have to drive. We've got a long drive in front of us for school tomorrow, so we're probably not going to stay through the whole thing, but really, for all of you, it's a great honor, and congratulations.
Hall of Fame, Goshen High School Hall of Fame inductee, 2024, Eric Furst. 1997 New York State Cross Country Team Champions. 1999 New York State Indoor 1,000 meter 5th, 2:34.02. 1999 New York State Outdoor Champion in the 800 meters at 1:55.11. 1999 DMR 1,200 meters, 3:06.2. And in Bucknell, 2002, indoor DMR, 1,600 meters at 4:11.43. 2003, indoor 1,000 meters, 2:25.14. 2003, outdoor DMR, 1,200 meters, 2:59.73. Congratulations to our 2024 inductee, Eric Furst. And next up, Wendy is next, with our next inductee, Bob Newhard.
that big voice to do it without a microphone. My name is Wendy Warnock. I was a runner for Warwick as well back many years ago. It's a wonderful pleasure to see so many familiar faces, to see the support and track nuts, as we like to call them, that have come out and helped support the Friends of Section 9 and Track and Field Hall of Fame. And with this, when we moved to New York from the Midwest, got involved in a little running, and this gentleman was the local pharmacist. And he coached at Burke as well, and I got to know him a little bit through some of his other runners. And it was always very positive. You would see him at a track meet, and it was always wonderful. He always had a smile on his face, something positive to say to you. So I will turn this over real quick to Danny Rechner, one of his runners, and Dan is going to talk about Bob.
You can hear me, we don't need that. Can you hear me or not? You good? I guess I can't hear me. Bobby Newhard was more than just a coach. Like Wendy said, he was a pharmacist during the day. He'd come and coach at Burke, and then go back and be a pharmacist. He gave his life to Burke Catholic, helping us people that were really didn't know what we wanted to do in life, and he took us and guided us through that path. He made many runners that were just interested in the sport, good runners. He took many athletes that didn't really have a clue on how to focus, made them focus. And with that being said, he made us all great people because of this man. It wasn't always about the wins, the losses, the championships. It was about the journey and how he brought us along to be productive people. So we thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm a phys ed teacher, so I really don't need this either. I'm Bobby's brother-in-law. Been his brother-in-law for almost 40 years. I'm going to talk on Bobby's behalf. There's some people that he would like to thank, special thanks to. First of all, he'd like to thank all his athletes, some are actually here tonight, for all the memories and special times that he had with them throughout the years. To Burke Catholic, who gave him his first job, and who, as they said, he would go from being a pharmacist, and he did not want to miss that part of his life, so he would leave early thanks to working out with his sister, so he could leave to go coach at that point. He'd like to thank my sister, by the way, it's her 40th anniversary this year, for believing in him and standing by his side throughout the whole time, and she is also was a Burke teacher. There's also someone who we've met already that Bobby would really like to thank, and that's Danny Rechner. Danny joined his team as a cross-country runner, and he said as soon as he laced up his sneakers, he ran like the wind. I had the privilege of coaching him, to guide him, to train him, to offer him the opportunity to be a runner. And a runner he turned out to be, an incredible, most exceptional runner. I don't know if you know this, but I believe if I'm correct, Danny, as a teenager, ran sub 2:20 in the marathon. So that's under Bobby's tutelage there. They've remained good friends up to this day. Danny calls and makes him smile. He shares life stories and adventures and always reminds me of the morning runs. He keeps me young, and yes, he is still running. I'm proud to call him my friend. One of the things that Bobby did not put down on this was that as coaches, the truly good coaches are always looking to improve. We're never satisfied with what we have learned up to that point. We're always trying to find something new that's going to help our programs. And me personally, I got the opportunity to spend several years going down to Land City to a clinic with him and my sister, And he would come out of that, and he would take what he learned from other people and try to incorporate it into his program. Because he didn't feel that he was the best he could be unless he tried to make it better. And I think everybody here, that's why everybody's here tonight, is because you all try to make things better. He'd like to congratulate everybody that's been honored tonight. You know, and it's a great honor to be up here himself, and he said, thanks everybody.
Wilson Lawrence is going around with a piece of paper that shows a ladder that you were showing Mike and I before over there. And we always said there's the top rung, there's still more afterwards. We're in track and field, there's always a second you want to cut off your time, there's always a foot you want to leap, jump higher, there's an inch you want to go a little bit better each and every day. There's never a top rung for a track and field athlete, that's for sure. And you guys as coaches, the coaches who are out there, you are always the ones that are trying to make us go a little bit faster or jump a little bit higher. So to all the coaches out there, congratulations. This is a testament to all the hard work you guys do as well. And on behalf of Coach Bobby Newhard, there'll be a plaque for the Friends of Section 9 Track and Field Hall of Fame, John S. Burke Catholic High School Hall of Fame inductee 2024, Coach Bobby Newhard, 1978 to 2016, building champions, character, confidence, and respect. Congratulations once again to our inductee, Bobby Newhard. And next up, we have Mr. Giannino coming right back for our second half of our double duo from Pine Bush, and that'll be Michelle Langan.
So I'm talking to Michelle earlier. She is still as competitive today as she was as a high school runner. She's run 2 Olympic marathon trials, and she has a lot to say. Michelle, come on up, share with us.
Keep this short and sweet because this actual trip down memory lane has left me way more emotional and speechless than I ever anticipated. So first and foremost, thank you. This is truly an honor and a blessing to be here in the most beautiful time of year in the Hudson Valley. My favorite season, cross country, just brings back so many memories. Like Allissa, who's now officially a Sherpa, she said too, this award goes to Turk. I mean, what he instilled in us as a coach, as a person. The fact that Allissa and I are still best friends, that I'm still running and training and racing and just as fired up about it, about master's goals that I was in high school, I think just, it's a cliche that speaks volumes. I can't thank him enough. To be able to show my family, still I went to Penn State and I got my Penn State Pine Bush colors on, but just the pride I have being able to show my family where I grew up in Hudson Valley during this, like I said, beautiful time, to be able to show them an interest in my coach, and Lillian, the way my daughter said, Mom, she's like, do I finally get to meet the man who taught you how to run? And I was like, yeah, honey, but I was like, it's so much more than that. I'm still using the same principles he taught me, to keep it simple, to keep it fun, the cross training, I'm still running now, so all the stuff he taught me, I'm still using, and just, when I think back, my husband was asking me, I was like, when I think back at Section 9, the cross-country track and field, I just think of all the memories, how special you guys made it, how prestigious it was, and then this, again, 20-something years later, you guys are making it so special and so prestigious with this banquet, and thank you.
Langan and Allissa Thompson, and for Michelle, 2000 Section 9 Cross Country Champion at 1746.4, 2000 New York State Cross Country, second place, 1920.7, 2000 Foot Locker Nationals, 9th, 1737.2, 2001 New York State Indoor Champion, 3,000 meters at 10:07.77. Indoor Section 9 Champion, 3,000 meters, 1999, 2000, and 2001. Outdoor Section 9 Champion, 3,000 meters, 1999, 2000, 2001. Gotta catch my breath. Olympic Trials Marathon in 2016. We have 2:47.46. Olympic Trials 2020, 2:44.39. Congratulations to the Hall of Fame for Michelle Whale Langan. Next up, Dave Goggins. Going to introduce our next inductee, Alec Faldermeyer.
Nice try, Ed.
I knew it was wrong as soon as I said it.
This would be for Alec Faldermeyer. And this, out of my curiosity, I know we have people here from Georgia and South Carolina. Is anybody here from further than Los Angeles? Oh, San Diego, okay. Sorry, Alec, you can't win that prize. Alec and his wife Elizabeth are here from Los Angeles. Why would anybody choose a sport where when your implement gets stuck at the top of the cage, you need a bucket truck to get it down? I don't know, but Alec, I'm glad you did. Watching Alec throw in high school was like watching poetry in motion. As a taxpayer in the district, I was glad to see his talent emerge at a time when Minnesink Valley was not considered a track and field powerhouse. The discus/hammer cage at Minnesink left a lot to be desired. By the way, it still exists in the same condition as when Alex was competing, if you want to see it. My fondest memory of Alec reflects on him as a person. At a modified meet at Minnesink one day, I was officiating the shot put, and I gave a shout out to those adults and non-competing athletes for help marking and retrieving. To my surprise and delight, Alec, this nationally recognized high school championship thrower, without hesitating, stepped forward and spent the next hour standing in the sector helping out, setting an example of humility and service for those younger athletes. It is my great privilege to introduce Alec Faldermeyer for induction into our Hall of Fame.
Firstly, I want to say thank you to Section 9 Track and Field Hall of Fame. Let me tell you, I was not expecting this call when I was sitting in my office at work, and Dave called me and told me I was getting inducted. A little bit of a surprise for me. It was a nice one. When I was in the 7th grade, I tried out for our modified baseball team. I did not make it. My parents said, well, you're doing something. And track was what it ended up being. And when you put the fat kid out there, they generally show you to the shot put ring. I'm sure a lot of people here know. And that was what started me on my journey to where I am right now, I guess you could say. You know, before I guess I get into my story a little bit here, I do want to make sure I take my Oscars moment to thank my parents who are here, my mom, my stepdad, and my dad, who took me to just about every single practice I ever had. So that was pretty impressive. So thank you guys. When I think about my career in high school and college, I don't tend to think so much about victories or all the meets that I went to and everything, but I kind of like to think of how it helped springboard me to where I am today. And so I kind of work my way backwards and I say, well, I've got my 1-year-old son over there, and I wouldn't have him if I hadn't met my wife. And I met my wife on the track team at UCLA. I wouldn't have been there if I hadn't had the success that I had here in Section 9. So, essentially it was the springboard to everything I have right now, which is, everything I could ever want. I will say when Dave called me and told me I was getting inducted, did a little research. I was looking into some past inductees, several of whom I know and everything. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was not just honoring athletes, but honoring coaches and officials as well, because I think, as some of the other inductees have spoken about tonight, we just wouldn't be here if it weren't for coaches and officials. I was very fortunate to have several coaches who had absolutely no ego, which was really important for me, because when you get to a point where a coach may not have the expertise to further you along, and they just step up and say, okay, time to go to the next person. We got to find somebody who's got the knowledge for you. That's huge for an athlete, being able to move on. And I had a few of those from my high school coach, Layla Williams, who kind of passed me on to Kevin Sullivan, and passed me on to Patty McGrath, who was an Olympian, and really got me to where I needed to be to get recruited and go to school. Having those people really just put the athletes first, I can't say enough about them. And as far as officials go, boy, what a thankless job. And so important. I mean, you're giving up your Saturdays, for starters, pretty much your entire Saturday, to go help a bunch of kids, live out their dreams. I think it's fantastic that this organization is also honoring officials, because we, again, as you guys all know, we just couldn't do what we do without them. So that's all I have to say. Again, thank you. This is truly a great honor for me. So thrilled I got to fly back from LA and have my wife and my family here. So thank you.
Alec Faldermeyer, 2007 indoor national champion, weight throw, 86 feet 3 inches, 2007 outdoor national champion, hammer throw, 240 feet 8 inches, 2012 Olympic trials, USATF junior national champion, Pan American junior champion, and UCLA Pac-12 champion, your 2024 Hall of Fame inductee, Alec Faldermeyer. Now Mr. Kevin Stewart will come on up to introduce our next gentleman, who has an amazing memory. He came up here talking to me about how he remembered when I ran back in the 1980s in Middletown against some of those great Monticello teams. So Mr. Garry, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, sir. Hi, everybody. Congratulations. When I first started coaching, probably the very first meet was at Rockland Community College. And there was a young lady named Stephanie Moore from Monticello. Not a particularly large girl. I'm sure she was very strong, but she wasn't ripped. But she was very quick, and she had very good technique in the circle. And she just dominated the shot put. And then she strolled on over the infield to the high hurdles and blew everyone off the track in the high hurdles. Had a wicked fast lead lane. And I just watched this and I just said, that's nuts. I just thought, that's just nuts. I trained with a couple All-American decathletes in college, and they were excellent hurdlers, but I could beat them in a shot, no problem. And I wasn't that good, and Lord knows I couldn't hurdle. And I thought, it didn't take very long to notice that Monticello had a lot of really good athletes, a whole lot of good athletes, and I'll leave Ken the privilege of naming them. And they had a really good indoor team, they had a really good outdoor team, boys and girls, and cross country came around, they had a really good cross country team. And Ken was very much responsible for all of that. He did a lot of work as the Section 9 chairman. He started the Monticello Spring Invitational, I believe, which we all absolutely love to go to in the 32.1 degree weather in late March. Ken's a proud alum of St. Francis Prep and Brooklyn College, which during those days, maybe still today, is very much like Portland and Ithaca is the hotbed where all the coaches and really good athletes in the city university system come out of. And during those days, he tells me he was a very good swimmer and water polo player. And he learned a lot from his aquatic sports that he can apply to track and field. So I guess if you can convince a bunch of horses to jump in a pool and chase a ball around, you can convince teenagers to do just about anything. Today, Ken's a great coach, a great official. It's a pleasure to work with. Ken Garry.
Ready to roll, Dunes Incorporated in New York. I worked in Monticello for 35 years, from 1972 until 2007. My first 16 years I was a teacher coach. The last 19 years I was an athletic director, but I still hung on to doing indoor track, boys outdoor track for the last 10 years. I enjoyed working at Monticello. The kids were a heterogeneous, colorful group. They had a wide variety of ethnic, religious, and financial backgrounds. They got along very well with themselves, others, and even me. I was proud of their efforts and successes in competition, as well as their deportment in and out of school and at athletic events. At Monticello, I worked with some wonderful people, and I'm going to list them. Larry Bear Bryant. He initiated the indoor track and field program at Monticello, and he coached 2 state champions, Adam Bradley in a long jump and Tracy Armstead in the 50 and 100 meter dashes. Pete Wyszynski, he's a colorful, eccentric character, and he succeeded me as the cross-country coach as well as the indoor track coach. Chip Button, he's the name up in the North Country there for his great distance runners, but for 6 years we were fortunate to have him at Monticello. Coach Mooney Sieben and Buddy Goldsmith, rest in peace. Both of these guys were colorful characters who bled Monticello blue. Mark Powers, he was a science teacher, an earth science teacher in Monticello who was a very conscientious, loyal assistant. I managed to grab Bob Decker after he retired from Valley Central to coach at Monticello. I knew he had a great passion for the sport, I knew he had great knowledge, and he really helped us out. He was responsible for coaching an Empire State Games champion in the javelin at Monticello, my daughter, Megan Garrett. I didn't compete in track and field in high school or college. My first formal introduction to the sport was a required phys ed course. I was a phys ed major, teaching and coaching track and field. This was taught by 2 iconic men. Sal Happy Furst, he was a 1932 triple jump Olympian, and he came in 6th in that competition. Stewart Levitt, he was a 1963 Division II javelin champion in the NCAA. These men had passion, love, and devotion for the sport, and that's something which I really picked up on and carries through to this very day. At that time, there was another iconic character walking around the Monticello campus. His name was Milt Sonsky. He was a 1972 Olympian in the javelin throw where he finished 10th. He was a very, very colorful character. He refused to own a car. He drove around in a bike with 3 javelins taped to him. His main training venue was the sand dunes at Marine Park, where many, many times policemen were called in because they were fearful that some crazy guy with a spear is trying to kill pigeons and dogs. I would be remiss if I didn't address some of my great kids who competed for me. I was lucky. I had 6 state champions and 2 Eastern state champions. But the greatest athlete I ever had didn't win a state championship. Her name was Gwen McRae, class of 1985. Gwen was an athletic colossus. She dominated the OCL in races ranging from 55 meters to 400 meters, plus the long jump, and she anchored many winning relays. She won 25 indoor, outdoor, Section 9 golds. She won 11 indoor state meet medals, 9 of which were second and third. I often regret not limiting her participation. I would always ask her, "When? What do you want to do?" She said, "Coach, you're the coach. I'm the runner. You do what you think is best for me." And that's the way she was. She went on to the University of Houston. She was a member of their medal-winning 4x100 relay in 1986. I had some other great kids. I got great kids here, came to see me here today, and I didn't mention their name because they're not state champions or recent state champions, but they're still wonderful people. But here's my list. Larry Armstead. He was a state champ in 1990 in the triple jump. He went to Clemson where he became the school record holder in that event. Corey Moore. He was state champ in the long jump, Class B, in 1997. Katina Mack. She was state champ in the long jump in 1990. She went to Penn State where she was an amazing shooting guard for Penn State. Tracy Armstead. She's already in the Hall of Fame here, but she did the 55 meters in 1982 for me to win the title. She has nearly all of the sprint records at Cortland State, even though she graduated nearly 40 years ago. My big boy, Stowe Jackson. He was Eastern State's champ in the shot put in 1988. Stephanie Moore. She was the Eastern State champion in the shot put in 1984. She was also the school record holder in the hurdles. One of my favorites, Mike Crazy Miguel Castillo. He was state champ at 800 meters. This is after he ran a close 4th behind Troutman in the 1985 state meet. He initially went to Houston, was unhappy there. He was friends with the Warnock guy, Greg Large, the great hurdler from Warnock. He told Greg, he said, "Man, I'm not happy yet." Greg made a contact to his coach, Harry Groves. Harry Groves made it all happen for Miguel at Penn State, where he went to school for nothing with the combination of athletic money and financial aid. Also, he was one of few to defeat John Troutman, and he did so in an 800-meter race in a dual meet at Monticello. Bobby Jarlin, he's another colorful character from the hills of Wurtsboro. He was an 8-time Empire Games decathlon participant. He was a 14.5-foot pole vaulter, but his moment of glory came at one of Tim St. Lawrence's decathlon championship meets. In that meet, he was pitted against Dave Simmons from Middletown. These were different types of guys. Simmons, inner city, Middletown. Bobby Jarlin, Redneck, where during the month of November, the preferred meal is venison. Okay? Simmons was a sprinter. Jarlin was a middle distance runner. It all came down to the last event. And the last event was the 1500, where Bobby set a Orange County lead decathlon 1500-meter round. Another good guy I had, he was only with me for 1 year, was my Irish connection, Ray Condren. He helped me in the 1600 and the 800, so that enabled us to win that meet. My older brother told me if I put as much time and effort into studying the stock market as I did in studying track and field, I would be a wealthy man. I am wealthy, as I have numerous memories of my track and field and cross-country days. Thank you.
7, New York State champion Tracy Armstead, indoor and outdoor track and field co-chair, 1986 to 2007, New York State certified SOCAT official, 2008 to present. Congratulations to our Hall of Famer, head coach Ken Garry of Monticello. Mr. Furst, you're back up again. Our next inductee, Marie Stevens.
That's a tough act to follow. I don't know. But I will do my best. I got a teleprompter right here. It's not very long, but it's to me, it's heartfelt and it's very important. Page 1. So I have it's more than an honor, it's a privilege. It's really a great life moment for me to be able to introduce to you and to induct this evening Marie Stevens. In my first year of teaching at Warwick, I was very interested in helping the coach and staff for cross country and track, and Coach St. Lawrence was then the coach, and he said, well, we got 3 modified girls and 6 modified boys, you can become the modified coach, and that was 1976, and so that's what happened. And on that team of 3 girls, there was one girl, I'd send them out on a run, there'd be one girl that would come back 3 minutes before everybody else, and what she would say to me is, well, what else would you like me to do? What else can I do? And it was that enthusiasm, that passion, and that desire that actually inspired me to become the best possible coach that I could be. And I learned that very early on, like 50 years ago, and so Marie, thank you for that. So she was highly motivated, not just me, but also her teammates. And in 1980, at the OCL cross country meet at Bear Mountain, Marie ran, and it's a challenging course. The old course. She ran 17 minutes and 32 seconds. Since that point in time, I went and did the math, there's been 310 invitationals held at Bear Mountain since then. And in that period of time, there's only been 18 girls who have ever run faster than Marie did in 1980. So that's truly inspirational. She was our first, at Warwick Valley, she was our first runner to compete in an individual event at the Penn Relays, where she ran 2 miles in 10 minutes and 52 seconds on cinders, and also a 508 mile, 218-800. And it's my honor and privilege to induct Marie Stevens into our Hall of Fame.
Before I launch into my speech, you should really understand that a lot of people here had the privilege of joining a program. That wasn't the case at Warwick. So thank you to the committee for this unexpected honor, and congratulations to my fellow honorees. Special thanks to my friends and family who are here tonight celebrating. When this process began, I was a little leery of just even writing the bio. And somebody said to me, oh, just let your mind drift back to that time, and you'll be really surprised with what your brain can come up with. So Mr. Furst, those are true words of wisdom. And I know I never understood your science lessons, and I know that you knew that. You just continued to encourage me. So I might not have understood the lesson, but I understood the message. The program at Warwick was built by the sheer determination of Coach Saint and Mr. Furst. Although we always wanted a team, and a good team, the principles to create that team were never sacrificed. The program at Warwick was built on the family model. That model means work hard, have good character, trust and support each other, have mutual respect, keep your promises, never become bigger than the program. And when the time comes, be able to give back. And while you're doing this, never ever lose your integrity. My mom would have loved to be here tonight. She supported these two men and the grassroots effort of this program, and she would never let me step out of line and miss out on opportunities that she was never able to be a part of. Looking back made me realize, even though the men's program was in its early stage, the women's program, track and field and cross country at Warwick, was non-existent. And it's not a cliche when I say grassroots. I would go to practice some days and there'd be random girls there from 7th and 8th grade science and from phys ed class. It was always an adventure. You just never knew who was going to be out there. That leads me to a long overdue apology. So Trone, Wendy Warnock, who was one of those 7th graders, if my memory serves me right, I should have been a little bit more supportive at times and a little bit nicer. One day we were sitting on the grass hill in Warwick, and Coach Saint says to us, I got news for you guys. My wife is pregnant, and she's due the weekend of the state meet. And so my dad's going to take you to the state meet. My story from the state meet that day is old Mr. St. Joe Saint decides on the starting line that my shirt is too long. He sends somebody over to Joe Straub's parents' RV, and the kid comes back with a steak knife. So on the starting line of the state meet, old Mr. Saint is sawing the bottom of my shirt off. So again, you're never bigger than the program. The early days were filled with many wild and crazy stories, and even yesterday when I was at the county meet, Coach Saint said to me, oh, those stories, you know, they're not true. They are and were true, and they were crazy. But it was also filled with a promise. Wendy Bertucci, outstanding sprinter, varsity cheerleader, my good friend, made a promise one day to Coach Saint that she would run cross country her senior year. She kept that promise, and that promise showed every other sprinter in our program that they too could run cross country. They might not have liked it, they might not have enjoyed it, but they could do it. I'm happy and grateful that Wendy's here today, lifelong friends. My coaching memory, my favorite coaching memory, involves Tim St. Jr. and the Goshen Warwick cross country meet. I was fortunate enough to watch and be a part of the Warwick program at that time. And for those of you who know, Tim and Rich, their children ran on the Goshen team. So it was a difficult week leading up to practice. The Warwick boys program was very good at the time, but Goshen had an outstanding team. The coaches of Warwick, their sons were running. It was a difficult day to be a parent coach, but the love of family was on display. When the meet was over, I had the honor of encouraging Tim St. Jr., who was on the ground, and me saying, what a great job you did. He said, and looking up at me saying, I heard you yelling. I heard you yelling for everybody. How could you do that? How could that be? I said, it's simple. That's what your dad taught me at Warwick. Appreciate the athlete, appreciate the effort, appreciate the contest, but not the outcome. One day, my beautiful daughter came home from high school lacrosse practice. I'm in the kitchen making dinner, she jumps up on the counter, and she begins telling me something about practice. I launch into another story about Warwick cross country and its values. She looked at me and said, "Mom, high school athletics isn't like that anymore." Crushing blow to my heart. What happened to the model? What happened to the message? This room is filled with men and women who chose to have a career in service, who chose and gave up countless hours with their own families to spend with other people's children. Coaching and teaching is hard, and it's getting harder. Please keep at it. Children need you. I thank you for all your time and support and hard work. At Warwick, I was blessed by the generosity of a very special person who remains a part of my life today and has maintained a 70-year friendship with my husband. 70 years. The Purple Wave and these two men have shaped who I am today. Outside of my family, the cross-country and track and field community that was built at Warwick remains the most supportive environment I've ever been a part of. It wasn't just a team. It was never really about a team. It was a culture, but it was a family. It was all about family. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
As they head on over, the Friends of Section 9 Track and Field Hall of Fame, Warwick Valley Hall of Fame inductees 2024, along with the relay team, which you'll be introduced to a little bit later on. For Marie Stevens, a trailblazer for Warwick Girls Cross Country, 1980 Section 9 Cross Country champion at 17:53.2, and 1980 OCIAA Cross Country champion 17:32.1. Your 2024 Hall of Fame inductee, Marie Stevens. And now, Mr. Glover, if you can come on back as you introduce our next inductee, John Dixon.
Thank you. This athlete was a phenomenal athlete in his day. Probably not a lot of you have heard the name John Dixon. He was a standout jumper for Highland Falls, Fort Montgomery High School, which is now O'Neill High School. And you can read about his biography in the book and all that he's done. The impact that this person, I can tell you that I graduated high school in 1977, and I knew the name John Dixon in Section 9. Everybody knew his name. That was 16 years after he had graduated high school. His long jump mark of 24 feet 3 inches, set in 1961, was the Section 9 record until Dennis Garand from Monroe jumped 24.6 in 1964. But the testament to both of those marks is that they are still number 1 and 2 in Section 9. Nobody has come close. The closest, Joe McDonald from Kingston in the late 80s, early 90s. The lasting impact of this guy, and we just so wish we would be able to hear what he would have to say, how track and field impacted his life. Here to accept the award is one of the current track coaches, graduate, community member from Highland Falls, Terry Rafferty.
Hello, everybody. As far as John Dixon, he competed before I was even born, but the stories that were told about this man were just incredible. To think back to him competing 1959 through 1961 and jumping 24 feet in the long jump. I don't know what kind of shoes he was wearing, the track surface that he jumped on. It's just truly incredible. A two-time state champion in the long jump. And when he was a senior, there was a little meet out in California that his coach wanted him to attend, the Golden West. And the whole town pitched in to raise money to send him out to California to jump in this prestigious meet. And he jumped 23 feet 7 and finished second overall in the whole United States. He later went to Catholic University and starred there, and then he enlisted in the United States Marine Corps and served our country. And unfortunately, in the early 80s, he passed away, and a lot of his family now are gone, but I thought it would be nice to honor what he did 60 some years ago. And I am so appreciative of all the members of the committee for putting him in to the Hall of Fame, so his legacy lives on. Thank you very much.
Highland Falls, Fort Montgomery High School, which is also James I. O'Neill High School, Hall of Fame inductee, posthumously 2024, Mr. John Dixon, 1960 New York State champion in the long jump, 22 feet 10 inches, 1961 New York State champion in the long jump, 23 feet half an inch, 1960 and 1961 Section 9 champion in the long jump, Golden West Invitational, second in the long jump, 23 feet 7 3/4 of an inch, Section 9 record long jump, 24 feet 3 inches, and OCIAA record high jump at 6 feet even. Let's hear it for our 2024 inductee, John Dixon. Mr. Furst, wherever you are, you're back up again. Gotta keep an eye on this guy. Getting ready to introduce our next nominee, a gentleman near and dear to my heart as well, and a gentleman who, over the ages, think back, has really kept, especially distance running, in the minds and thoughts of Orange County residents for decades, Mr. Frank Giannino.
Yeah, this is a great day for me because I get to induct two of the best people in the history of Section 9 into the Hall of Fame. When I first started coaching, maybe back in the 70s, early 80s, besides being inspired by kids, there was this guy who had a shoe store in Middletown on North Street, and he was very passionate about running. So passionate about running that he ran, like way before Forrest Gump, he ran across the United States twice. And it took 35 years for anybody to be able to run across this continent faster than Frank Giannino. And he still, not only, it wasn't, I don't think for Frank, it was ever about shoes. I think for Frank it was about passion for our sport. And shoes was just part of it. But Frank would travel around to high schools in his van, shoes in the back, give a little speech, talk a little bit about running, and then he would move on to that. Well, that ended after a bit, but Frank then was taking on the Orange Classic, where he was the host and the organizer for the Orange Classic for decades. Frank was the force behind that. It's not just running here. And also, Schwangunk Ridge runs. He was one of the first people involved in the organization of the New Pulse Running Series. That's been going on since the early 70s. And Frank is still, it's his heart and it's passion. When I was getting ready to retire, I was talking to Frank one time, it was maybe 2012, and he said to me, Rich, you have to do like they do in Rockland County, like what Jamie Kempton has going on down there. You have to start a Hall of Fame, Section 9 Hall of Fame. And I said, Frank, I can't, that's way bigger than me. I can't do that. But the inspiration, motivator, the visionary, Frank, 3 years later, all of a sudden we're having a meeting at Denny's or somewhere, and Dave Goggins, Frank, Mike Potter, Malcolm Burks, and we're sitting down there, and here it goes, and here it starts. And without the motivator, the visionary, Frank, none of us would be here right now. So, Frank, this is my honor to induct you into our Section 9 Track and Field Hall of Fame.
Everyone in this room has a story to tell, so I'll try to be brief and share mine with you. My mother inspired me to run as a freshman at Tappan Zee. First day of practice, coach says we're doing a time trial. Says, Coach, I haven't even run a step yet. So we do 5 laps. I finish last and throw my guts up all over the inside of the track. 3 weeks later, I finished second to our team's #1 2-miler. Quickly found my self-esteem in the place where I wanted to be for the rest of my life. Then we moved to Walden in the summer of that following summer of '68. I got my Eagle Scout Award, which taught me a lot, earning that. And then in the following fall, I ran my first cross-country meet for Valley Central against Burke. And who was in the race? Well, Bobby Newhard. And I'm winning the race, and we're going up a hill, and double teaming me on either side was Bob and his former chief of staff for our country, Marty Dempsey. They smoked me, and that was the end of that. But we remained friends for a very long time after that. My senior year, I went on a 17-mile run from Valley Central to my coach's house, Gene Martin, in Monroe, and fell in love with the idea of covering great distances on my own steam. That's where the seed was laid. Then in my senior year, last race, 2-mile run, Valley Central High School was hosting the Section 9 state qualifier. And for some really ridiculous reason, a 10-minute 2-miler, 9:58 at best, was winning the whole 2-mile. And these guys in the race were a lot faster than me. For some reason, they let me lead. We came around Smoker's Bend, the long straightaway, and I almost won the meet. And these 2 guys dogged me, both Eagle Scouts who I had been to camp with on either side, and I finished third, but I went to the state meet. From that moment, I became a fan of Section 9 forever, and have always been a junkie for the agate section and the paper results wherever they are. I had the fortune of living my life through a shoe store and having the pleasure of meeting many people in my community over the many years. I love you all. What happened though after Valley Central was 2 years at Ock. Uncle Sam drafted me. I spent 2 years and 8 months of that hitch up in Alaska. I found the marathon lifestyle, and the journey continued, but I was inspired by Captain John Blair, who said after we did a 10-mile run in the middle of winter in Alaska, no less, we averaged 6 minutes a mile, and he looked at me in the eyes and he said, Frank, hold that for 26 miles. So that became the goal. Get to closer to 6 minute mile in a marathon, which I did in the fall of 1975 in the Maryland Marathon. And then my journey to just do things led me to Northern Arizona University to finish up my undergrad in phys ed. Then I went on transferred to the University of Oregon to do my master's because I had to be where all the good guys were. One of my buddies from Alaska was running for the University of Oregon. His name was Don Clary, who would go on in 1980 to finish third in the 5,000 meters and qualify for the Olympic trials, which unfortunately didn't participate in that Olympics. And then I ran with Roger Salazar, not as a competitor for sure, but just in those same workouts to see Alberto, Rudy Chapa, and Bill McChesney, Don Clary, of course, and a slow runner named by the name of Matt Centrowitz was their fifth man. Everybody know Matt? We all know Matt. Anyway, after that experience, I came back to New York, and the running scene in New Paltz had really ramped up with a couple of friends of mine. We decided to start selling running shoes out of a store in 1978, and in the process of our little handshake agreement, the three of us, I decided I needed to go on a journey, but that was in the back of my mind. So my one partner, Billy Glatz, and I had run all through the summer doing the Ernst Van Aken method of training for a marathon. Totally stupid, but we were running 20 miles in the morning on most days, and we were running another 6 to 8 in the afternoon with group runs out of our new store. Well, as we ran, Billy and I finally decided on December 1st, we're going to follow through on that journey that we want to go on. And we decided to run across America. So LA to New York happened out of a series of events. The first moment was we needed a sponsor because we were broke. So we started talking to people in the United Way of Ulster County. Dick Fredenberg had a new campaign chair. His name was Tom Dyer. He was the publisher of the Daily Freeman up in Kingston. And he said, yeah, let's do something splashy and we'll get behind this runner. Now, the local runners up there knew me. I could win some races. I was always in the mix. But the enthusiasm of the running community behind our idea to do a run across America was overwhelming. So Dick teamed us up with Tom Geyer. Tom Geyer traded with Camper's Barn and got us a free motorhome. So I'm sitting in the bar in New Paltz not long after that, and this woman comes over, and she looks a lot like two of my teammates from Valley Central. Her name is Becky Wright, and she decides she's going to go ahead and drive our motorhome. So now we got a support person. I've got my best buddy Billy Glatz, who's going to run the whole thing with me. We show up to LA at Gladstone's restaurant at Sunset and 1, and we're looking at 3,000 miles going, what the heck did we get ourselves into here? So anyway, it was really about a figuring it out trip. And I figured out very quickly on the first day, because if you look at triptychs and a Ramit Valley Road Atlas long before we had cell phones and GPS, we thought the intersection of Sepulveda and the 405 and Sunset was just a small little intersection on the map. We get there and it's this major intersection with a lot of confusion, high-rise hotels, and our motorhome is out of sight, who was supporting us, and we lose each other. So I went up doing the first 50 days with no support. We showed up at begged for money at a little cafe. They donated some, food to us and coffee and whatever. A few miles later down the road, we come across a firehouse, and buck naked, we're drying our clothes off because there was a downpour of rain that day. And the firemen are nice enough to give us hero sandwiches out of the refrigerator. So 50 miles at the end of the day, we've got an APB out of our motorhome, and they got an APB out on us. And we finally rendezvous, and there's some yelling and screaming that quickly diffuses as we all realize the circumstances that unfolded that first day. The next day, we're nearing the Mojave Desert, so we start making our way across, and my partner, Billy Glatz, decides he's going to run with his blonde hair, long blonde hair, and fair skin, in black t-shirt and black shorts. He winds up developing second-degree blisters And he, at the end of the day, says, Frank, I don't want to do this. You continue. So he stays with me the next 9 days with Becky and they handle for me as I figure out how to be that all-day runner. 5 mile increments, 10 times a day. I was done it on average around 6 o'clock. I start going out to dinners with United Way reps. They're earmarking all the money to the Cancer Society. And I finished the run eventually, quite a journey, of course, doing 60 days and 50 miles a day. And then a reporter says to me at the steps of City Hall, Frank, you gonna do it again? I said, yeah, I can do more miles per day because I knew I wasn't done. So knee jerk, I committed myself to another run in San Francisco and steps of City Hall. And the reporter says, why are you doing this? I go, I love to run. Real simple. So we leave San Francisco, and the first day again runs into pathos. What happens? A guy's committing suicide on the Golden Gate Bridge. So me and my entourage from the College of Podiatric Medicine in San Francisco jump across 5 lanes of traffic on the Golden Gate Bridge, no less, go across under into the bike trail and into Sausalito, head north, and 2 miles later, the biker who catches up with me says, oh, I saw you on TV this morning, because we had a nice send-off. And he goes, did you hear about the jumper? I go, what jumper? Because that was where all the commotion was. And he goes, yeah, he waited for his wife, unfortunately in this case, looked up at her and did a Hail Mary off the bridge. So that's, my second run started jinxed just like the first run. And we didn't know what was going to unfold, but even my support team didn't want to stop and go to, they wanted to go to campgrounds and they wanted creature comforts, but all of us tightened up by the 4th day of the run, and I started to log those miles. My goal was to hit Fort Collins at 60 miles a day because I had to beat somebody else's claim who had done 48 days, 1 hour, 48 minutes. So by Fort Collins, I finally got on that pace, and from there on to the finish, I did 70 miles a day. What did I learn from all this? I learned that you need a great team around you. No person is an island, and teammanship is what has made all of us in this room, and that's what the game was all about. Then mysteriously I got this call from the Times Herald Record before my second run from John Sheff, the general manager. He goes, Frank, you're in our newspaper. We want you to organize a marathon for our Times Herald Record to celebrate 25 years as the Times, the Herald, and the Record. And they go ahead and we meet, and my good buddy Bobby Bright, the third guy in our little trio in New Paltz, jumps up in the course of the meeting and goes, forget the marathon in Middletown, New York, have a 10K, have it run through the neighborhoods of Middletown, and that was where the model began. So Bobby and I had an all-night drinking binge the night before, go out and lay this sadistic course out through the city of Middletown through all the neighborhoods. And that's the beginning of what we call the Orange Classic. Frank Shorter didn't commit to coming back to our new model, and Bill Rogers did. Next thing you know, we got 2 of the best, dueling through the streets, tears in the eyes of the locals back then, as these guys made their way to the finish. And that was the birth of a 3-year journey with the Orange Classic and many experiences along the way. And then I've also learned, he's calling the clock on me, but I've also learned that as we age out and we take all our memories with us, stay busy, folks. The only reason I'm still in the shoe business is because I don't want to be not busy. And thank you for listening to me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, can you guys hear me in the back? We had an athlete in 2005, his name was Don Rock. And he was a junior, graduated with these guys in 2006, but he got into a car accident in spring of his junior year, paralyzed from the waist down. And Don Rock was one of our top athletes. And these guys over here, the 5 of the 8 athletes that are here, filled that void of Don Rock, one of our best runners that year. And they were all about team. You look in the pamphlet, the Section 9 Hall of Fame doesn't induct teams. We got to rewrite that booklet
because I feel the 2006 Warnock Valley Boys track and field team should all be inducted. And they were everything that Coach Stevens talked about earlier: selfless, coachable, did all the right things. We won a 4x8 national title with our B team, believe it or not. Don Rock was paralyzed. One kid missed too many practices, we took him off the team. Another gentleman broke his ankle, was never the same. So these guys over here, we had to figure it out, and they stepped up. I'm looking at Pat Gallagher. Pat Gallagher was on every one of those relays. He was a 11 flat 100 meter guy. He was a 225 800 meter guy. We said to Pat, that winter, Coach Candy and I, we said, Pat, we think you can run 152. He did. He ran 152. Jesse Fuca over in the back, he quit the cross-country team to work on hurdles every day. He said, I want to win a state title in the hurdles. And he showed up every day by himself, and Coach Candy couldn't be with him. And we didn't think he was, not that we didn't think, but he believed, talk about athletes instilling in coaches, believe, right? He made us believe that anything's possible. He believed more than we did. And he went out and won multiple state titles in hurdles. Okay? Everybody over there is special. And Mike Mark, he was a 150.9 half miler in high school. He gave up all those individual accolades to run on the relays. He could have won a state title, he could have won a national title. 150.9 Open 800 back in 2006. He was all about team. And the things we do at Warwick, that family, that camaraderie, it was simply amazing. And we were just, myself, Curtis Akaki, Ryan Canyon, Tim St. Lawrence were honored and privileged to watch these guys show up every day and compete. They were competitive. We were also, I'm looking at Coach Burks over here, I got a funny story. It wasn't always pretty. Indoor state qualifier, Coach Burks will remember this because he's like an elephant. He's like me, he remembers everything. He doesn't forget. So we don't typically run where Newburgh runs, the 4x4. Well, we did. State quals at West Point, we decided to take our 4x8 guys off, run our B team, and try and take great Newburgh down in the 4x4. We did. We went to the state meet. We got there, we put in 4 B team guys. We didn't think they had a chance of making the final. They made the final. We weren't happy about it. We didn't know what to do because we had no guys left. Well, we put our 4x8 guys on the relay who just won the 4x8 a minute before that, 4.5 minutes. We had one heated girls 4x4. We put them back on the track. All of those guys over there had a big part in their success. So Coach St. and Coach Candy, why don't you guys come over here? We'll hand those awards out. We'll draw it down this side, okay? Next up, all the way from San Diego, Mike Siegel, one of the best runners in the state of West Country. Good job, Steve. Next up, we have multi-state champion in the hurdle, All-American in the sprint man. Let's welcome Megan, the assistant coach at Recipients. Next up, still our school record holder, 47.6, 225 guys turned 152 guys.
Inductees, the relay teams at Warwick Valley High School.
Hello, one more time. Those 50-50 tickets, you can get them out now, because we're going to be drawing shortly. The 50-50, when we first started, was to help supplement our scholarship committee, or, well, not the committee themselves, but those student athletes that we hope to support that are going on to continue their education in college or at a technical school. They're going to continue in the sport of track and field or cross country, and they just need additional help. They may not be that D1 athlete that's going on scholarship, that kind of thing. It is that athlete that shows up every day, sacrifices everything that they can for their team, okay? And as coaches, you are well aware of those kids that may come from a single parent home, that they may have to work on weekends to help support that family. So that's where the scholarships for this Hall of Fame goes to. Last year, we lost one of our founding members, Art Jessup, and he had such an impact on so many athletes, coaches in the area, that one of his former athletes made a very generous donation to our organization in support of our scholarship, okay? So this year, instead of being able to give out one scholarship, we were able to give out two. It was the amount of $2,000 each. The students this year, both of them came from Warwick. We had a number of applicants, but the two that were chosen were Samantha Brady. Samantha, I get emotional about this young lady. Samantha started her running journey as a USATF young athlete. She was part of a program that started in Warwick, and she continued, and she fought, and she had many challenges that she had to overcome. She, I think it was her freshman year, she tried out for soccer. She really, really loved soccer. And she got cut from the team. She goes, well, I'm gonna try cross country. And she ran cross country. And she was such a motivational young lady that she was a team leader at such a young age. Her senior year in the fall, she lost her dad suddenly. It was very unfortunate. But again, the support, the team, the family that is curated was there to support her and get her through. And she is continuing, I'm gonna have to double check. She is at Oswego. Well, didn't want to say Geneseo. I thought it was Oswego. So she is at Oswego right now, studying and continuing her running journey, as she says. The other young athlete is Elijah is it Fole? Do I say that right? Yes, Fole. He too had many challenges that he overcame, and as the coaches had said, he was a quiet young athlete. He went through and he did every workout that was asked of him. He wasn't splashy or anything. He was there, he was quiet. And as he grew and he gained confidence, he became a team leader. And he was very supportive and very motivating for his other teammates. He became captain his senior year, and he is going on to the University of Connecticut. So we were able to help him with his dream. He will be going into the medical field, so he is continuing his running journey as well. So, with that said, the 50-50 is going on. Last call. Everybody's probably got their tickets by now, right? Gosh, you told me 280?
Yeah.
Is that what we're at? 280 would be the 50-50. You had to do the math. So, who do I have, y'all? Lillian. Lillian's still here? Who's going to be the lucky winner? Pick one. Got it? Can you read the number for me? I'm going to need my glasses. Go ahead.
B081379.
Fantastic inductees, your speeches, the introductions, remarkable. A couple things I'd like to talk about first. Wendy touched on our scholarship. As a 501c3 organization, part of our mission is to give back to the running community. One of the ways we do that is with our scholarship, which we've talked about. And just a word on that donation. That donation, through careful stewardship and investment stuff, will enable us to give a sizable scholarship for the next 20 years. So, thank you to that person. That's awesome. We also give out to every Section 9 athlete that qualifies for a state championship a souvenir t-shirt with a flashy logo on it. Everybody's name that's competing is on the back, and that's given out cross-country, indoor and outdoor track. That's supplied by the Hall of Fame, and we're happy to do that. And we also provide medals to the Orange County JV championship race at the end of the year, because the league does not recognize JV championships, so we do that. And then other stuff yet to be determined. We're there. We want to serve the running community, promote the sport of running, jumping, and throwing, and recognizing our athletes. This has been a fantastic night, and it would not have happened without some of these people. I'd like to give a big thanks to Ed Estrada for Master of Ceremonies. Does a fantastic job. Glenn and Megan Gilson, our photographers. Their work is fantastic. They're organized, they keep us going, and seamless, and their photographs are beautiful, and it chronicles what we do here. All of those photographs will appear on our website, which is www.section9hof, that's section9hof.com. So please check that out. If you're so inclined, I believe there is a place in there if you'd like to make a donation to us. And we do update, we're hopefully to get everybody's bios on there at some point, but all the inductees, past and present, are on that website. I would like to give a big shout out to all of our advertisers in this beautiful program. Those are all big supporters of the inductees and what we do. They pay money to put it in there, and support them. Let them know we're there. I would like to thank Chester Printing for helping us to put that together. It's a lot of work. We do a lot of proofreading back and forth, and they're very involved and patient with us getting that done. I want to give a shout out to Stephen Sanchez from SAS Guard Computing Services. Now, the average age, I think, of our board of directors is like 67 years old or something, because we're old people. Technology is not our forte, so to speak. And there's so much out there to help us stay organized, Zoom meetings, messaging, and shared documents, and that. They brought us into the 21st century with Microsoft, whatever you want to call it, suites. We all got Outlook, email, and we can chat with each other. So we have that ability. We are not quite there yet on the execution. We're working on it. But Stephen Sanchez has been so patient and helpful in that, and I really got for Frank for making that possible and being the leader on that thing. And finally, I'd like to also thank Wallkill Golf Club for providing this beautiful venue. It's a fabulous place. Patronize them. I would like to thank my fellow board members, who, without them, we would not be here doing this tonight. And most of all, thank you, supporters, inductees, for coming together and making it happen on this one day. Each year, this event gets better and better. People know about it now, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. Now, before we all gather to go, there's a couple of things we'd like to do. Not all of our inductees were able to get in a picture, so we would like to give another try for all the inductees to meet out there for one quick group picture, so we're all together. before we depart. And also, the banner over there is available for family, friends, coaches. If you want to go over there and take a picture with the athlete or the inductee for yourselves, please take advantage of that. It makes for good memories. But again, thank you very much. This is a wonderful night. Thanks to everybody, and big round of applause for everybody.